In this video, I'm going to share some Hebrew insights with you related to the names of Samson and Delilah, which is what you see on the screen right now. Let's get started. Welcome to Equipped. I'm Mario Escobedo. On this channel, I do a lot of Bible study type videos, but I also do videos on tips and tools that will help you share the Bible effectively with those God has placed under your care. If that's something that sounds helpful to you, then definitely consider subscribing and tapping that notification bell so that you're always up to date on the latest teachings. Now, in this video, I don't have a teaching or a principle that I'm going to share with you as I normally do. Rather, I'm going to share some Hebrew insights related to the names of Samson and Delilah. And I know that with that, what I'm going to show you, you're going to create something incredible, whether a teaching or a preaching, something to share with the people God has placed under your care. I know you're going to create something incredible. So let's go to the screen. I'm going to zoom in first on these two words right here. The word right here on the top is the word for Samson, and we pronounce it Shimshon. And then the word down here, let me write Samson right here, that way we don't get confused. The word on the bottom is pronounced Shemesh, and it's the Hebrew word for son. Now, you don't have to read Hebrew to begin to identify some similarities between these two words. In fact, remember Hebrew is read from right to left. You'll notice that these first three letters in both words are identical. The only difference between these two words are these two letters right here, which are on, that's the Shimshon part, that's how they're pronounced, on, and that's the only difference between these two words. What I'm suggesting is that the name Samson is based on the Hebrew word for son. And in fact, often in Hebrew, when you add these two letters here, it's called a diminutive. Diminutive. What does that mean? Well, we do this in English all the time. You have Tim, and you can make it a diminutive by saying Timmy, right? John is Johnny. That's a diminutive. And in Hebrew, something similar is taking place with these two letters right here, the on. You take a word, you add the diminutive, and it can possibly be a diminutive form of the word on which it's based. So in this case, here's what I'm proposing to you, that the name Samson is based on the word Shemesh for son, and that the idea that's being conveyed is that Samson is a diminutive, a mini son, so to speak. And you think about the life of Samson and everything that entailed, you think about power, you think about this great strength, and you can make a literary correlation that the word Samson or the name Samson, yeah, it's very similar in concept, not just literarily or phonemically, meaning the letters, but in concept, it's very similar to what the sun stands for, great power, great strength. So in a sense, Samson is a little son. Now, what I find interesting, this is just a side note, one of the things that I think about when I think about the sun is light and the ability to see. And it's interesting to me that Samson ends up blind with his eyes gouged out without the ability to see, even though his name implies light and being able to see. That's just a side note. Do with that as you will. Okay, the other word we're going to deal with is Delilah. We have that right here. Now, you know that Delilah plays a very important role in the Samson narrative. She ends up causing Samson's ultimate downfall. Let's look at Delilah's name. So here we have Delilah. And that's how it'd be written in Hebrew. Again, it's written from right to left. And then down here we have another Hebrew word. This is the word Lila. That's how you pronounce that word, Lila. And similar to what's taking place, or what took place with Samson, you have the same thing happening here, to where these letters are identical. And the only difference is this first dalet, that first letter right there. It's missing in this word, the bottom word. And I'm going to make the same suggestion, that the name Delilah is based on this other Hebrew word, Lila. But things get really interesting when we understand what that word Lila is. And that word in Hebrew is one of the words that we learn in first year Hebrew. It's like one of our vocabulary words. It's one of the very first words we learn in Hebrew. That word, believe it or not, this is going to blow you away. That word is the Hebrew word for night. I just find that fascinating. Okay, phonemically, meaning the letters, it's very obvious to me that Delilah just looks a whole lot like the Hebrew word for night. In fact, I think that an ancient Israelite or somebody reading this story in the original language would have come to this part right near in the narrative. They would have seen Delilah's name and they would have seen like, wait a minute, that looks like a whole lot like our word for night. And this is where you're going to take it from here, right? You're going to take it from here. But I want you to begin to think about the contrast between the names and how the story plays out. Because here you have an individual whose name implies or at least recalls the sun and everything it stands for. And then you have another individual's name whose name, her name recalls or implies or stands for, or at least brings to memory night. And you have the sun wanting to go with the night. And I think a Hebrew reader would have thought something like that doesn't work. The sun should not be with the night. Wherever there is sun, you can't have night unless you live in Alaska. And wherever there's night, well, the sun is absent. Something's not right here. And I think that's kind of the point, that the narrative is being set up in such a way to demonstrate to us Samson has made a series of horrible mistakes throughout his entire life. I mean, horrible mistakes throughout his entire life. And here we come to the culmination of all those bad mistakes, that he's getting into territory where he has no business being. His name suggests it. Delilah's name suggests it. They're incompatible. They should not be with each other. Listen to me. There I go, trying to give you a principle. I want you to do something with this. But I think there's something very interesting taking place there with the Hebrew names of these two individuals. And I'd love to hear your ideas. What are you going to do with this? Does that make sense? Can you build something from that? Do you have some Hebrew insight that maybe I'm missing something? I'd love to hear from you in the comments, because, some of the best ideas and insights come from you, the community of the Equipped. That's it for now. Do something with this Hebrew insight. And until next time, God bless.